Hello, I'm your host, John Cavendish, and welcome to the Amazon Strategist Show, the show that's all strategy with no hacks, no silver bullets, and no magic beans, just real practical strategy for growing your Amazon business. So today, we are very, very lucky to be joined by Justin Chen of PickFu. Personally, I've used PickFu many times, and so have my business partners with our different Amazon businesses, and I'm really excited to learn, the journey that got him there. I know many of us who started Amazon. Amazon is our first business. And then I see so many of my friends from the Amazon space exiting and then going into services or SaaS or all sorts of different businesses. So I'm really interested to just chat to Justin, who's been in this business for 15 years, which is while I was still at college. So, I guess you guys started just out of college as well. So without further ado, let me bring up Justin Chen.
Hey, John.
Hello, great to meet you.
Yeah, thanks for having
Just
me.
gave away our ages just then. Sorry. Were you just out of college when you started PickFu? How did that work? A little bit about your journey.
I wish I was just out of college. No, we had been working for a few years, so even older. Yeah, my business partner and I went to college together at Berkeley, and then the corporate stint. So he went to Microsoft, and I went to HB.
Wow, cool. Proper old school corporate, like big chip companies.
Yeah, it was kind of the like one of the tech downturns, and so there weren't too many options at smaller companies, so we kind of fled to the big ones.
You can never mess up buying IBM, maybe HP.
Exactly. Yep.
Cool. So, how did you end up starting with PickFu? Like back in 2008, what was it that kind of sparked that idea?
Yeah, so we were actually running a completely different startup together. We were running a different kind of B2C web business, and we were working on a redesign, and we couldn't decide between the two of us. And so, being engineers, we decided to build a solution that worked for us. There was this concept going around of getting out and talking to people at coffee shops and like lean startup validation, all this kind of stuff. And so, being introverted, we didn't want to actually go to a coffee shop. So let's build a digital focus group, and that's what PickFu became. Um, the other thing we encountered, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs will resonate with, is when you start, you ask your friends and family a lot for advice. Like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And they're very willing participants in the beginning. They're giving you some answers. Then they just start saying like, "Oh, you're smart. Like, whatever decision you
You'll figure it out.
yeah, you'll figure it out. Like, I trust you." And then you realize like this is not very helpful feedback. They're not necessarily your target audience, or most likely they're not your target audience for, whether it's a software company or a product that you're selling on Amazon. So this kind of echo chamber, or especially your own team, is not really helpful. And that's where PickFu kind of comes in.
No, I love it. So it's like pre-Tinder, and you basically created the kind of Tinder for business ideas.
Yeah, exactly. So we had a lot of we kind of put it out there for the entrepreneur community, and people were just testing like different ideas. Really early on, the DuckDuckGo founder kind of took to it, and he really enjoyed it, and he blogged about it, and that kind of helped boost us a little bit. And for a while, we just kind of let it sit there on the side. We started getting people like self-publishing authors use it because with the 4 Hour Work Week, Tim Ferriss talked about testing his book titles with Google AdWords and just using this data-driven approach. And so a lot of people were trying to replicate that, but without the complication of running Google Ads. And so that's kind of where PickFu comes in. It's really good for testing things that you're going to publish or you're going to put out that you can't really live test, which books are kind of like the perfect one and everyone's an author. Like we kept seeing all kinds of weird people coming through, and like everyone's got the great novel that they're trying to write and whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because it got a large swath of people that were testing it for book titles and book covers, which kind of helped us seed into other industries, right? Because during their day job, maybe they were a marketing person or a product person or whatever it is.
I love that. It's super cool. And I'm going to go into that as well about the other niches because I'm really
Yeah.
interested in that because I don't know outside. But first, like, what you can share, how does the back end work and how do you incentivize people to actually go in that aren't, to actually do this rating?
Yeah. So PickFu, think of it as a very simple survey. So a single question, you upload maybe a few creative assets that you want to get feedback on. And what we do is we tap into existing market research panels that all the large companies use for their longer form market research, or when there's like a national polling about, the sentiment or politics or anything, like they'll typically tap into these kinds of same panels. And so we tap into those panels, and then we layer our own layer of data quality and also demographic targeting on top of that. And so we spend a lot of time trying to make sure that the respondents are actually earnestly answering these questions. And one of the ways that we do that is not only do they choose what they like, for example, if you were to put up two logos, they would choose option A or option B, but they also give you a written explanation why. And this is important because we use this to kind of validate how genuine they are in actually answering it. If they just say like A is good, like that's we're going to reject them. It's not very helpful. So we actually put a lot of use a lot of machine learning to kind of go through and filter out a lot of these responses, and we reject a lot of them because people on the internet kind of don't spend a lot of time getting good answers a lot of the time. So not only do they give written explanations, they give demographic information, so you can kind of splice and dice and see like, oh, interesting, A1, but females like B or something like that, and maybe that'll influence your decision. But really, the most insight comes from those written explanations, and people kind of come for the votes, but they stay for the explanations because that's where you actually have actionable insight to kind of iterate on.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. And how was your kind of arc of who started using you? Because as we talked about just before we started, like I know about you for main image testing,
Sure.
or brand or different types of branding. Like we'll be developing a new brand. One of my business partners will come back and they'll say, "Oh, these ones, and this is what they rated them," and we're like, "Oh, that's super
Yeah.
interesting. This is the one that resonated," even though this one looks way cooler in my opinion.
Yeah. So like I said, authors and self-publishing authors, they were kind of our earliest ones. That was kind of the most obvious use case, and we kind of pushed hard on the marketing for a while there. The only trouble is that people don't write a lot of books. Maybe you'll write one book in your lifetime, and if you're prolific, maybe it's once a year. So not a great cadence there in terms of acquiring the customer and then getting a lot of lifetime value from them. We started getting some software companies, some gaming companies. So they were testing things like app icons and app store screenshots, even game characters like in-game creatives. And we didn't really fall into the Amazon space until I think it was 2019 when Kevin King mentioned us at Global Sources, and then Manny mentioned us on the AMPM podcast. I think a few months after that. So then we started getting this influx of Amazon sellers who were testing all these different product type things. We weren't even really aware about that space, and so as we started digging into it, we started understanding there's a lot of opportunities for Amazon sellers to test, and they should test because they're investing incredible amounts of capital and time, and taking all kinds of risks and taking on loans and all this kind of stuff. And so they really need to be making more data-driven decisions about which product they use and what their branding, what their packaging is. But what most people found us for initially was actually just split testing that main image, because as any Amazon seller knows, like you need those click-through rates to even start any kind of conversion pathway. So and it became an easier way for people to do main image testing. This was kind of before there was manage your experiments, and we also try to make it so that it's easy to iterate. Like our polls are very fast. If you run a PickFu poll, they're typically done in 15 minutes, 30 minutes. And so you can literally sit down with your designer and just keep iterating in the same day. It's like, all right, people don't like this. All right, change it, run another one. They don't like this, change it, run another one. And so you're not going to be able to do that if you're just running live tests.
No, it's amazing. I didn't know it was so fast. So does that mean that are they all Americans rating these? Where's this group coming from? That people just think that they can computer to like Instagram, they're just going through like basically rating stuff?
No, I mean, so we started with US based respondents. And so that's kind of our strongest panel right now. And we have the most demographic targeting. We have the most information about them. But a few months ago, we actually opened it up to a few more countries. So we're in Australia, UK, Canada, and Germany as well. And then we're still kind of building up more demographic information in those countries. And then we'll be launching other additional countries, hopefully later this year, kind of going after the countries that Amazon sellers find important. So, potentially Mexico and Japan and some of these other marketplaces that people expand to. But yeah, so like you'll be surprised at the types of people who respond. I think a lot of them are just looking for something to do. Maybe they're killing time at their job, or they're waiting, at school or whatever it is. And so, we've run a lot of polls trying to understand our respondent base, and we'll find people that are like, oh, Stanford educated lawyer who's just killing time, like watching TV or something like that, right? Or it's a nice way to unwind for a lot of people to just kind of, go through these kinds of surveys. You make a little bit of, beer money on the side, and it's win-win all around.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, I can see it's probably more fun and engaging than like doom scrolling through social media forever.
Yeah, yeah, or just playing games or something like that, right?
Oh, you get business ideas. I'm sure, like, actually wouldn't be a bad way of getting ideas.
And a lot of our respondents actually really enjoy the fact that they're helping like other business owners, and we'll get feedback like, "Oh man, I'm so glad that this is doing well. Like I actually ended up buying it because like they saw it on Amazon or whatever it is." So it's kind of fun because as they become part of the journey, they they almost become a vested part of the final product, and so it's very there's a source of pride for them.
Yeah, that's really cool, isn't it? It's like, almost like building in the open, isn't it? It's like
Yeah,
when
yeah,
people can see behind the curtain, they're like, oh,
exactly.
they're more engaged with the story.
Yep.
I love that. So, what percentage now, since 2019, and you clocked that Amazon was an amazing opportunity? What kind
Yeah.
of percentage of the business is Amazon?
Maybe like 2/3 or so,
Mm,
Amazon slash e-commerce, I guess. Most people aren't strictly on Amazon anymore. So,
mm,
and it's not a tool that's specifically for Amazon either. So whether you're selling on Amazon or Walmart or Etsy or eBay or any of those marketplaces, or even D2C and you're using Shopify, you can use PickFu to test any aspect of your product lifecycle. So like I
mm,
said, most people are using it to test marketing creative. So whether they're main images or that kind of stuff,
mm,
but what ends up happening actually, so our reputation is around main image split testing, which is fine. It's
mm,
very useful for that. But what ends up happening is they'll read through the responses and the respondents will actually comment on some aspect of the product or the packaging and say like, well, the product just kind of sucks, or like this packaging is horrible, or like what's up with this brand
mm,
name. Like that's a really common one. And I don't think a lot of people have spent time really developing like an interesting brand or like testing those brand names. So what ends up happening is our customers like go through that first round of feedback, and now their second product or when they decide to rebrand, they start using PickFu much earlier in the process. And so you can literally test ideas that are just written text. You could say, hey, if you're a mom and you've got kids, have you ever had this problem and would you be interested in the solution? And you just kind of describe what you're thinking about.
wow, that's
And
cool.
people would just, it's just like going to a coffee shop. Like people would give you their open feedback and say, I think that's a silly idea. I think that's a great idea. Whatever it is, I would pay $20, something like that. And then just keep iterating on concepts. They could be 3D renders, they could be photos from your manufacturer, like whatever it is. Like we've seen literal napkin sketches of things and people just trying to get feedback on it. So it's a really nice way to test hypothetical things that honestly are probably never going to see a light of day, but this is the
Mm.
like the private forum to test it. And that's kind of where it differentiates from, oh, just split testing, which you could do some of that on Amazon anyways.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the idea of testing, yeah, business ideas. Does this resonate with you? Cool.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
exactly.
I mean, I identify with that completely as well. When I first started my ecom journey in 2014, like, the worst Upwork, well, whatever it was called back then, was it on Odesk or whatever
Yeah.
it was?
What was it called? Yeah, I
Pre-Upwork.
remember it went through a few brand iterations.
Yeah, like the cheapest, designer
Yeah.
crap. And I was like, I would probably have, I mean, I would definitely have millions more dollars if I just had right branding, and didn't have to change my branding twice on the way through the journey. And I'd known what
Yep.
to invest in money in, and I hadn't spent $400 on, on my brand.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you could definitely spend $400 with a tool like PickFu and
Yeah.
actually get something good because you do it,
Yeah.
100 times. But yeah, not if you just choose random one for the cheapest designer.
Yeah, and I think now I think sellers are getting more sophisticated and realizing that they do have to find a way to differentiate in the
Mm,
marketplace. And branding is one of those things where it's a little bit less tangible, but will make an impact as you're scrolling through. And it's like, oh, this seems like a legit brand. Like whether
yeah.
whether you're a one person shop or not, you want to represent that you're a bigger brand and you've put some thought into it.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, totally agree. So, are you both tech guys? You and your co-founder, changing tack slightly?
Yeah, so we're both software engineers, and so
Mm,
we kind of have similar skill sets and oddly complement each other well, even despite that overlap. So it's been an interesting journey. I think part of the reason we started working together, actually, like quitting our corporate jobs was just for the education factor. I think like we just wanted to change a pace, and it was either going to business school and getting an MBA or taking that same money and sinking it into running some kind of business. And it didn't necessarily have to be a web business. We were thinking about like starting a bar or whatever it is, right? Like we just wanted to run something and just, learn from the school of hard knocks. So, yeah. And then it just kind of led us on this journey.
nice. And so, Well, you started together in 2008. Were you both working on different businesses together for that entire period between 28, 2019? And what was your journey through that period?
Yeah, so we actually started together in 2006. We had, quit our jobs and then started building this other web business together. And so everything we've done, we've run together. So we've run a handful of other random web businesses like wedding photo sharing and like phone forwarding, just like all kinds of random things that kind of pop up as entrepreneurs have, ADD and all that kind of stuff. And so, we ran all these kinds of side projects for a while. And then as PickFu started taking hold, we decided to, all right, well, let's go full effort on this one particular project.
That was cool. And you haven't had the ADD since then and started like a crypto project or something. You guys haven't been going around in circles like everyone else.
We played with the crypto before PickFu took off, so like no more room for the ADD now. I think our hands are completely full, just trying to scale the business.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I think we all, anyone watching will identify with that. All these cool ideas, and everything could be a business if only you had a million hours and a
Yeah,
million competent operators that you could
for
hire.
sure.
And that's been my biggest lesson over the last year is, hiring competent operators. I know,
Mm,
like, we all get to that part in the journey. Like, damn, if I'd hired this person 10 years ago, I would have had a much less stressful life.
yep.
Cool. No, so I mean, PickFu, so if anyone wants to try PickFu, because not everyone will have tried it who's watching, like, what's the best thing they can do first? And what's your pricing model currently?
Yeah, so the pricing is pretty straightforward. There's never any fee to sign up. There's no platform access fee or anything like that. So you can go to pickfu.com and sign up. We have a Google sign in, so you can use that. It's all pay as you go. So it starts at $1 per response. So as low as 15 responses, it would be $15. And that'll get you kind of US general first come, first serve. If you want to add targeting like Prime subscribers or women or cat owners, tea drinkers, whatever it is, we have all kinds of different behavioral targeting. Then the price will go up a little bit. It might be like $1.40 per response or $1.60 per response, depending on how difficult it is to find that respondent. And so you just pay with your credit card.
It's much cheaper in the UK. I was going to say much cheaper in the UK for the tea drinkers.
It's everyone.
When you launch China, it's just free. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward to run a poll. We have some suggested combos and templates, or for people who don't know where to start. A lot of times, one of the hesitations is, oh, I don't know what question to ask. And so what we do have what we call combos, which are kind of fixed price templates where we've kind of set the question for you and added some targeting for you. So a Amazon main image test or something like that would be a fixed price, and we've kind of given you the Amazon Prime subscribers and like set a question for you. But as far as getting started, like one test that I recommend people doing if they don't even know where to start is you can kind of do a crowdsourced listing audit, is what we call it. And so basically, you could write a question like, take a look at this Amazon listing. What questions do you still have? And you could just put your URL to your Amazon listing, and people will take a look at it. And a lot of times they'll find questions, that maybe you thought you answered, but just not well enough. And so, is it edible? Is it washable? Like, how big is it? Whatever it is, like all these things will pop up. And maybe you thought you answered it, but maybe, that little bullet that you thought was enough is not enough. And maybe you need a secondary image that, emphasizes it or whatever it is. So it's a nice way to kind of get a snapshot of like, all right, well, here's some things that I could improve. And then maybe you can use PickFu to like go iterate on like that image or like your copy. We have a lot of people like testing bullet points, or even what an interesting way that people use it is kind of ranking features. So, there's every product probably has a lot of interesting like selling benefits, but like which one do you emphasize in what order? You could put you could put 8 different ideas up, and oh, it's washable, it's BPA free, whatever it is, and then just have people rank, hey, if you were buying this water bottle, like how would you rank the importance of these features, and then kind of go from there.
I love that. And I mean, that's like the $100 million offers, Alex Hormozy's book. When you're talking about listing audits, like that
Uh-huh.
seems like just a standalone offer, like the
Yeah.
greatest way for anyone who has an Amazon business to step into using PickFu, like
Yep.
if there was a flat price, but 150 responses, flat price, like, yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Everyone should do it. Because why not?
The one other test that I would recommend that our more advanced users do is actually doing a competitive test. So testing your main image or even like a screenshot of like your search result versus your top three competitors to understand. Like, you may already know that you're losing, but understanding why, and to have actually people verbalize, like, well, it's obvious that, like, it's the pricing or it's the ratings, or maybe it could be, hey, it's that silly brand name. Like, just have them call it out, because then you're going to know what you need to do to improve. And that's actually how we recommend doing a main image improvement. Actually, is first start with a competitive test so that you understand what areas you need to fix, iterate a few times, then test it again competitively and see, like, oh, did you move the needle? Because if you can't win competitively, then why even put it live on Amazon? Like, nothing's changed, right?
Yeah. No, that's super cool. And I think that anyone who's watching, listening to this should go and check that out, because I mean, I wish I had that when I was a seller
Sure.
back in the past. And like, if you'd offered me like a package for testing my listing, X dollars per listing, I would have signed up, because, 1% better and I make a
Yeah,
load more money for a
exactly.
small investment,
Yep.
which is great. Love it. So before we go into more, shall we step into our game show portion of the show?
Yeah, let's do it.
This is perfect for introverts. Not at all. We're getting to the part of the show where we want to give back to our viewers. So on every show, we have our wheel. We're going to very kindly, put forward by Justin, put $200 worth of free PickFu polling credits, which is enough for at least, well, at 15, that's many, 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 many different things, I guess.
Yeah, you could run a number of smaller polls, or a couple bigger ones. Yeah,
or 2 to 3 bigger ones. Also on the wheel, we have $400 of free reimbursement credit from one of our sponsors, us, Seller Candy. We also have a 30-minute consultation from Don from AccrueMe. We have a call with Brian Johnson from Canopy Management. We have back-end listing optimization from Online Seller Solutions. You should probably use PickFu as well, and then give them the data, and many, many more. Okay, so Justin, you have control. Not physical control. You have to actually spin that wheel. But
okay.
In the background, somebody will click on the wheel.
All right, spin that wheel.
Looks like we have a frame rate issue with the wheel.
It's going. Okay.
It's kind of going. What is it? Deaf Device 30-minute strategy call with me. We should update the me. That's Dano Fork from Deaf Device.
Nice.
Not me personally. Deaf Device is really cool. If you've got a, you'll really like this one, Justin. So if you've got an e-commerce store, and then people are visiting your site but not converting, they basically use the cookies to match through some back channels people, and then add up to 20% of your site visitors to your email list.
Cool.
Only valid, I think, in the US, because I'm pretty sure that's against your European data privacy laws.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, and don't get me for libel. But yeah,
cool.
It's a really cool piece of software, and I'd be using that. I think if you're doing more than $1 million in revenue, then it starts to actually add value, because basically you're just going to convert those people.
Awesome.
All right, do you want to do one more?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, spin that wheel. There we go.
Dun, 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 dun. All right, Eva, you get a 13% revenue reimbursement recovery rate with Eva. So Eva is they do all sorts of different Amazon softwares now. They were originally just doing reimbursements and something else, and now they're doing everything.
Yep.
So I believe that Rob Runyon, who now heads up their marketing, is supposed to be on the podcast very shortly.
Cool.
I'm not really sure when. Rob is always running around, and I see him at events, and he's like running backwards and forwards like a crazy man. And one more time, might as well.
All right,
I think we
let's do it.
3.
All right, spin that wheel.
All right, and it is another thing from Dano at Deaf Device. You get their free ebook. So apparently we've somehow rigged the wheel. So just Dano gets everything this week. But whoever's won, we will be introduced to Dano within the next 7 days.
Awesome.
So if you do want to enter this, please go to the link, which will be over the screen and below here, where you can enter. And when you enter, you get entered for every spin going forwards. So you have a chance to win everything, including, I think, a laptop was put forward
Oh.
by someone last week.
Nice.
So including a MacBook Air. My team is not allowed to win that.
That's a good one.
Awesome. So, all right, next thing. We always ask everyone on the show one question. And the question we ask everyone is, what's one strategic element you think most people are missing when selling on Amazon?
Can I say testing?
You can, yeah,
Okay.
you can say testing. I'd expect you to say testing.
I don't know the ground rules here. Yeah, I mean, I think it's validation early in the process. I mean, I think it breaks my heart when I see that kind of feedback around things that they could have caught so much earlier in the process. And we've heard so many stories from customers that even test mild things that you might think are mild around like color variation. So someone came up to us once that they were selling journals and they had to decide which set of colors to choose, and so they used PickFu, and sold all of them. There was no unsold inventory, and so like that's a fantastic win. And so I think it's a small cost to have a little bit of data around if you're going to invest thousands of dollars into inventory, at least getting a sense of what people like. So doing that kind of product validation early is super important.
Yeah, I'm totally in agreement there. And most people can't launch a new product with less than $20,000 these days when you're talking about design and sourcing and then reorders if the product actually does well. So, I mean, spending a couple of $100 to get data for $20,000 investment is great.
Yeah.
1%. All right. So we have our rapid fire questions.
Okay.
There are 7 questions. They are all very complex. No, not really. So it'll be fine. So are you ready?
Okay, let's do it.
All right. Okay. Question number 1. What is your favorite Amazon niche?
Electronics. It's probably what I buy the most.
Yeah. If you could choose no pictures or no reviews, which would you pick?
Oh, no reviews.
Name a country that starts the letter P.
Pakistan?
Which Amazon marketplace do you believe is the next big opportunity?
Mexico. Maybe it's already big. I don't know.
Pineapple on pizza. Yes or no?
Sure. Yes.
Name something appealing about working from home.
Wearing sweats all the time.
And name something you'd hate to find swimming around in your bathtub.
Oh, a snake?
A snake's the most common one. All right. Thank you so much, Justin. Amazing best answers so far. So yeah, thank you. So if people do want to follow you, contact you, ask you any questions or learn more about PickFu, where should they go?
Yeah, you could connect with me on LinkedIn. Pretty active there, pretty responsive there. You could also just come to the site, and if you ever have any questions, we have a live chat, and our customer success team can help you out, whether you have questions about the question that you're asking or you just don't even know where to start. We have a very good success team and multilingual at that. So, a lot of our customers are non-US, so don't hesitate to reach out and ask the question in your native language.
Oh, that's awesome. What languages do you have, just out of interest?
Russian, Chinese, Spanish. What was the other one? There was one more that I can't think of, but those are the big ones. French, a little bit of French. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's super cool. That's a great idea. Proper international team.
Yeah.
So Justin, thank you so much for being on the show, and thank everyone that's watching as well. So if you've enjoyed this show, please don't hesitate to reach out to Justin, check out PickFu, and also to rate this podcast. So head to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, leave a review. It helps us grow the show and get even bigger and better guests such as Justin. So thank you for being here, Justin.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John.